Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Farmanullah. Today we are going to start with the C++ programming language and how we can write the C++ programs, why we learn programming, and why we want to become programmer in the future on developing the different softwares, why we need to learn programming. So today we are going to start with the C++ programming language, and in the my next tutorials we are going to learn about the web application developments, desktop application developments, and different technologies we will be working with. And so today this tutorials is going to be start on the C++ programming language. So let's start with the introduction of the C++ programming language. Start with the first we are going to introduce the contents, so which contents will be included and will be taught in this chapter number 1. So the first thing we are going to discuss what is the language. About language we are going to know programming language. So different, like we have the language, what is language, and then what's programming language, categories of the programming language, levels of the programming language, programming versus programming. I mean, what do we mean by the program, and then what's the meaning of the programming? Then we have the compiler versus interpreter. When we are writing the C++ programmers, so programming, so we need something to translate these codes into the machine language, into the object code. So we need the compiler versus interpreter. What do we mean by compiler and what is interpreter? What are the differences between these two? Then introduction to C language, C++ and its history. Writing C++ program, we will be writing those simple programs in the first chapters also, and some I mean that up to 60 or 70% we will be writing the uh, theoretical, we will go further, and the remaining like 20 or 30% we will have practical in this chapter. The 70-80% we will be covering the theory concepts in this chapter. So writing C++ programs, structure of the C++ program. What is the structure of the C++ programs? Like we are categorizing the C++ program. What's the structure? Like we have the header files, preprocessor directives, the main function, the C++ statements, like block of statements we have. So we will be discussing what's the structure of the C++ program. Every programming language has its own C++ means program structure, like there is no that much major difference in these structures, but anyhow it may have any differences, means will be differ it from other languages also. Then we have preprocessor directives, header file, main functions, C++ statements, data types in C++. What data types? So we will be using in the C++. Data types means what type of data we are dealing with in the different programs. Then we have keywords, tokens, variables. What are the variables? We say sometimes it's like a storage for data, means we can hold amount of data in the variable. Variable is like the a quantity whose number may or may not change during the execution of the program. Declaration of the variables. What do we mean by the declaration? Rules for writing variable names, initialization of the variable, runtime versus runtime versus the compile time, initialization, constants. What are the constants? Integer, floating point, character, string, escape sequences. We will be discussing what are the escape sequences. Mostly we are using for the formatting purpose sometime. Defining constants, how we can define the constants. It will have the a library in C++ program that will be defined at the top of the program. Then we have the arithmetic operators, arithmetic expressions. So that's it. These are the contents that will be discussed in this chapter. So see you in the next tutorial. We will be continuing on from this step onward.